Alright, figured I'd make a video on upgrading your 991 or 981 steering wheel to the GT Sport wheel. So this is the non-GT Sport standard steering wheel, and here we have my GT Sport wheel, which obviously is missing some of the trim, but we'll get that transferred over. And so to get started, let's disconnect the battery and take the steering wheel off. So with disconnecting the battery, just a 10mm socket, let's take this cover off. And I like to tie a rag on the latch so you don't accidentally close it. And let's get the negative side off. Alright. So now that the battery is disconnected, to take off the OEM steering wheel, if you have the older 981, 991.1 generation sport steering wheel, there's going to be a hole on the bottom side where you have to punch a hole through the material. But for this one, since I already upgraded to the non-GT steering wheel, there's this hole, and we just have to get a screwdriver in there and depress it so that it releases the airbag. So it turns out on the newer steering wheel, there's actually two holes, just like I showed you on the left side, but one more on the right side. And it looks like we have to get both of them. So we're just going to turn the wheel a little bit. And then it takes a little bit of fishing to find it. But once you find the spring, you'll know. There we go. I got the left side. Turn the wheel. There we go. The other side. So once you got your airbag loose, you'll see these two plugs, and it's color coded to the airbag. So to help you remember, you just got to lift the orange tabs up and pull the plugs right out. And so I use this little flathead and lifted up the orange tabs, and we should be able to pull them right out. Sorry for the cut, but only have two hands, and there you go. They just pull right out. While we're in here, we can actually see the spring mechanism that we were sticking the screwdriver into. You see the screwdriver goes into the hole on either side of the steering column in the back, or the steering wheel, and then we're trying to push these metal spring tabs here forward to release the airbag on either side. Alright, so for the next part, you're going to want an impact gun. I guess you don't need to, but it helps. I'm using a T55, what is this, a Torx? Something like that. It's got 6 teeth on it. And just make sure it's on the reverse. Hold the steering wheel. Looks like she doesn't want to come out very well. Let's try using a breaker bar. Alright, after wrestling it for a while, I finally got it out. Just don't use too much Loctite on it the next time you install this bolt. I mean, Porsche actually recommends you use a new bolt, and I might recommend you do that, because the bolt might come with some Loctite already applied on it from factory, and that might be the way to do it. But since we got it out now, next we just need to unplug it, which should be this little pull tab, and she should be ready to come out. All right, so it's another day. I had to use a steering wheel puller to to get the steering wheel off, but that's a long story. But basically, if this is the first time ever pulling it out, it should just come right out. It's probably a good idea to mark on the inner spline or the threaded area where the center of the steering wheel is. But if your steering is already straight and you don't touch it, for the most part, it's not hard to lose track of. But yeah, you should mark it because it's a guessing game if you lose track of where the center is. But at this point, you just, mine was kind of loose, but yeah, comes right out. So here we have the steering wheel. The next part is pretty new territory for me, so if I make any mistakes, you'll know not to make them. But I actually took apart a little bit of this for using the steering wheel puller, so I'll explain what there was, but it's pretty straightforward. The first part is just taking off the bracket that holds in the airbag, basically, and the connector for it. And there's 3 bolts, so let's take these out first. Pull these out. Don't lose the spacer as you pull them out. And so in here, what originally was there was this brown cable is actually connected to this ground in here. And so you're gonna want to pull that one off of the, it's like on the main frame of the steering wheel. And then as you lift up, you'll see that the blue cable is actually hooked around the top here. You just have to pull them out. Same with the back of the brown cable being hooked around the plastic there. But otherwise the whole thing just lifts out. And then there's also 3 springs attached to the back that you don't want to lose. So the next part looks like on the back side we can tackle these Torx bits over here. These look like the right size, yeah. Alright, so once you have the 3 screws out in the back, this piece just seems to slide right off. Nice. Alright, so apparently recording in a 91 degree temperature garage is too much for the camera, so overheated, but I got these 4 screws out from the 2 bottom corners of the steering wheel. And these black trim pieces, they just seem to pop off when you tug on them. They're just held on by these clips on the side. So we're just gonna pull off all 3 of these trim pieces. Just give them a nice firm tug. And there we go. And so after taking off the back pieces, looks like the rest of it just comes right out. Let's just be gentle with it. And there you go. There's the whole front face, actually. If you have the multi-function steering wheel, I'd expect there just to be some cabling running along the sides. Cool. And there it is. All we got to do is transplant this this black bracket, which seems to just be coming out like everything else. Just a couple clips holding it on. There we go. Alright, now we have the replacement steering wheel, my GT Sport one. This one's actually heated, but I don't actually have the option, so I'm not going to hook it up. So we'll find a way to just tuck that somewhere nicely. But now we just have to do the steps in reverse like before. So Let's start with this inner piece. All right. And let's see how we want to handle the wiring here. I think this should just be able to go on first. Nice. That looks awesome. And in the back, we will, I think, probably just tuck this somewhere along the side. I'll show you guys what I do when I figure it out. Alright, so I ended up just tucking these along the sides. Let's hope it works. I just need to get them out of the way so they don't rattle and they don't accidentally, you know, short something, or I don't know. But let's start putting the rear trim pieces back together. So this should just clip right in. There we go. And the last side. Nice. Just a minor detail, but since this one is not an OEM wrapped steering wheel, there's little bits of leather that are hanging over. So like this corner, just make sure it's tucked underneath the plastic trim. Same with the other side. And the nothing will be hanging out. But we got the 3 trim pieces in. Let's put the 2 screws in for the main front trim piece. All right, so I ended up pulling the black plastic piece back out of it just because it clips right in. Makes it easier to hook the wires over. So the goal here is to have this orange yellow plug be like top center here, and so you can route the cables around these teeth here on either side. And the blue is already connected here. This brown ground will be connected to the ground in the steering wheel here. So I guess now we just have to carefully place this in there without anything getting shaken loose. The hard part is that they're not actually like stuck together yet, and so like you just gotta hold them together because of the springs. Let's see how this goes. So I'm going to connect the brown to the ground tab sticking out right there. Let's put these screws with their spacers back into the centers of the springs. Also, it looks like literally everything on the steering wheel can be accomplished with just a T20. Yeah, I guess it doesn't really matter that the brown cable on the back isn't actually like hooked behind the plastic. I mean, if I were to go back, maybe at this point I could lift the whole thing up a little bit and try and get it back there with a pick. Alright, so what I ended up doing here is I loosened the 3 bolts actually, and then just was able to lift up the plastic back here just a little bit, enough to squeeze the brown cable back behind the tooth where it would hook onto. And so now both the blue and the brown cables are connected to their respective tabs, and they're hooked onto the plastic frame. So now let's button up these screws. All right, now that the screws are nice and snug, this should still be, when you push this plate down, that's like when you're pushing the horn basically. So it's like a button right here. And the three screws here. Make sure they're snug. Should be good to go. Let's reinstall the steering wheel back into the car. Alright, before we install it, I figured I'd show you guys the difference between the standard steering wheel and the GT steering wheel. If you're wondering if it's worth it or not, like paying the extra, or, you know, that's how much bigger the non-GT steering wheel is. It's like, I mean, I think it's supposedly supposed to be like a centimeter total, but it makes a pretty big difference, like when you're actually driving or holding it in a car. It feels significantly smaller. I mean, I bought the GT one after I bought the standard one just because I wanted the smaller steering wheel. But yeah, I mean, not sure how I can show you better. If we match the bottoms, you still got like a solid, yeah, that'll do. Alright, so now we're ready to reinstall the steering wheel. So I read that most cars probably already have a dot here on the steering shaft, but I don't see a mark on the steering shaft for mine, except for the mark that I drew earlier. So yeah, your mileage may vary, but we'll see. For me here, remember with the battery still disconnected, let's line her up and slide her in. Feels pretty good. So I got a brand new bolt from Porsche. These are really cheap, so you might as well replace it because they also come pre-applied with Loctite. Alright, once you get the bolt mostly in there, the torque spec value is apparently 50 Newton meters, I believe. 50 Newton meters, around, what is that, 37 foot-pounds of torque. There we go. Now let's just plug this in. And we're almost done. Just gotta reconnect the airbag. So, same as before, you just match the colors. So mine is yellow to yellow and brown to brown. And just gently click it in. That looks awesome. And we're done. Let's reconnect the battery and make sure everything works. All right, here we are, the finished product. Let's put in the key and make sure the horn works. Yeah, it works. So that wraps up the install video and moving all the trim pieces over from the old steering wheel to the new one for the 991.2 or the 718, 981, you know, that generation 2014 to 19 or something of steering wheels. So let me know if you have any questions, leave in the comments about this install or anything else that you're wondering, maybe even the seats. That was another pain in the ass. But yeah, let me know, and thanks for watching.